Now we're going to work with the Spec 20. This is a spectrophotometer, which is a machine that's going to measure the absorbance and transmittance of the fluid that we're going to be using that we just diluted out to find our unknown concentration. So the first step to the spectrometer is, first off, you need to turn it on and let it warm up. To do that, you turn this knob here to the right, and it'll turn on. Now you'll notice it has two filters. It has a 600 to 950 nanometers and 340 to 599 nanometers. The first step you want to do is make sure your filter's to the right, and you want to set the wavelength, which shows up here, to 670. Now these knobs are really touchy, so if you move them a little, they'll actually move a lot. So you have to kind of finesse it a little bit, and you want to get it right at 670 for this lab. Now, with no tube in here, you want to make sure that you have your transmittance reading out at 0, and this will set your filter. So again, these knobs are really touchy, so a little goes a long way here. So you have a mode button here. You want to make sure that it's on transmittance when you're setting your filter up, and you want to make sure that it reads out for 0% transmittance. So this filter is now calibrated exactly for this wavelength of 670 nanometers. So once you have your filter calibrated, the next step is to zero out the wavelength with your blank here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your blank. You're going to make sure you wipe off any fingerprints you have with a Chem wipe. And the next step is to line up the two lines. You'll notice here there's a white line here, and then inside your machine there's actually a line right here. So you just want to make sure that the lines line up. It'll stop. Close your lid. Now you have two options here. The first one is to zero this out to 100 transmittance or to 0 absorbance. They are the exact same thing. So for this example, we're going to go ahead and zero this out to 100% transmittance. Once this reads 100, you know that you have now calibrated for this wavelength, which in this instance is 670 nanometers. Once you have that done, you can go ahead and take your blank out, and then you will go ahead and load in your sample. When you go to fill your cuvettes, the most important thing you want to do is make sure that you just fill just to the bottom of the little circle here. So when you take your sample, just very carefully go ahead and pour it in till you get just below the circle. Once you've calibrated for your wavelength, the next thing to do is test your sample. So the same thing you did for your blank, you want to make sure you take your Chem wipe, wipe off all of your fingerprints that you may have put on here, which can interrupt with the reading. Line up the two lines. Close your lid. And the most important thing to do is not touch any knobs. The only thing you're really concerned with now is reading the transmittance and the absorbance. So for this reading, we're getting a reading of 84.4% transmittance, and then you hit the mode button, and that'll give you your absorbance reading, which is read in AUs. So this one is 0.073 AU. So with our standard curve, this is an example that's found in your book. What we are basically doing here is you're going to be making this best fit line with your known values. So you're going to have known values at this absorbance with this concentration. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your unknown that you got from your dilution, from your unknown molarity. You're going to plug in and figure out what the absorbance is. You're going to follow it over to the best fit line and down, and that'll give you your concentration in moles per liter.